welcome back to a new fresh lecture. And in this lecture, we are going to solve some questions from your NCERT books. Okay, so till now we have completed every types of theorems, 7 theorems, and all the properties of every type of quadrilateral, starting from parallelogram and ends with trapezium. Now, based on those concepts, those properties, today's lecture is based on. Okay, so without wasting time, let's start with the first example. That is example number 1 from an NCERT books. Okay, so here the question is, so that each angle of a rectangle is 90 degree, right? So we have to prove, if there is a rectangle like this, okay, A B C D, then we have to prove that each angle is 90 degree. Okay, each angle is 90 degree. Though we know that each angle of a rectangle is 90 degree. During the discussion of its property, I have told you that each angle of a rectangle is 90 degree. But now we have to show it. We have to prove this. How? See, as we know, a rectangle is a parallelogram. I have told you the relationship between a rectangle and a parallelogram. So a rectangle is a parallelogram in which one angle is 90 degree. What is that? I have told you a rectangle is a parallelogram with one angle 90 degree. Okay, so ultimately a rectangle is a parallelogram in which only one angle is 90 degree, only one angle. Let's say this is our rectangle, okay, A, B, C, D, and its any one angle is 90 degree. This is for sure. Okay, this is for sure. You have to write this. A rectangle is a parallelogram in which only one angle is 90 degree. Let's say this angle is 90 degree. Now we have to show what? Each angle is 90 degree. That means except B, angle A, angle D, and angle C are each 90 degree. We have to prove it. How? Let's see. Since ABCD is a what? ABCD is a rectangle, and I have told you a rectangle is nothing but a parallelogram. That means we can say that ABCD is also a parallelogram. Right? Now, in parallelogram we know their opposite angles are equal. Yes or no? Yes. If B angle is 90 degree, then what is the opposite angle of B? That is angle D. So what should be the value of D? It must be 90 degree. Yes or no? Yes. So you can write, since ABCD is also a parallelogram, okay, then the opposite angles must be 90 degree. That means opposite angles must be equal. Then they are opposite angles, okay, must be 90 degree. So what we can write? We can write the opposite angle of angle B is angle D. So it must be 90 degree, implies D is equal to 90 degree. So what we have found? We have found another angle D whose value is 90 degree. So now we have rest of the two angles, angle A and angle C. We have to find their values. How? Let's see. Since in case of parallelogram we know the sum of consecutive angle is 180 degree. Just remind, in case of parallelogram, the sum of consecutive angles. Consecutive means the angles will lie just nearer, nearest to another angle. Suppose this angle we are considering, then its consecutive angle is this angle. Yeah, the consecutive angle of this angle is this angle. So this angle are consecutive. This angle are consecutive. But this angle are opposite. Okay. So we know the sum of the consecutive angle is 180 degree. So here also in this case, if we consider the angle A, then angle A and angle B are consecutive angle. So their sum must be 180 degree. Okay. Now, since angle A and angle B are what? Consecutive, then what should we write? A plus B is equal to 180 degree. A plus B is equal to 180 degree. Okay. Now we have to find the value of A. So A plus B is 90 degree is equal to 180 degree. So we found A is equal to 180 degree minus 90 degree is equal to 90. So what we have found? We have found the value of this angle A is also 90 degree. Understood? Next, what remaining? The angle C. How we can find it? See, already we have written that in a parallelogram their opposite angles must be equal. Sorry, this is equal. I have written 90. Must be equal. Yes or no? Yes. So what is the opposite angle of angle A? Definitely angle C. So what should be the value of angle C? It must be 90 because its opposite angle's value is 90. So you can write, since angle C is the opposite of angle A, implies the value of angle C must be 90. Okay, here angle D, we get here C, and now here we get A is equal to 90. So what we found? We found in a rectangle each angle's value is 90 degree. Understood? So for this you have to take initially that we know in case of a rectangle is nothing but a parallelogram in which only one angle is 90. If it is 90, then its opposite angle is 90. If it is 90, then these two are consecutive. So if it is 90, then it must be 90. If it is 90, then it is 90. So now it is proved. Okay. So finally you can write, hence the value of each angle of a rectangle is 90 degree. Understood? And now coming to the example number 2. In example 2 it is given, so that the diagonals of a rhombus are perpendicular to each other. Right? So it is given if there is a rhombus, right? Then you have to draw two diagonals. Okay? And you have to prove that these two diagonals are perpendicular to each other. That means the angle between these two diagonals is 90 degree. Here the angle between two diagonals is 90 degree. Here 90 degree. Here 90 degree. So basically you have to prove that this diagonal, let's say this is A, B, C, D. So you have to prove that this diagonal BD is perpendicular to the diagonal AC. Or you can say the angle between these two diagonals is 90 degree. Okay, now we have to prove this. So let's start proving it. How can we prove it? In order to prove it, first what we have to do? We have to draw two diagonals for a rhombus. Let's say this is a rhombus. This is a rhombus. And now let us draw two diagonals AC and BD. Right. Let's say they meet each other at a common point, that is O, point of intersection. We have to write it. Let us join AC and BD diagonals, and they both meet each other at which point? At O, and O is known as point of intersection. Already from the property of the rhombus, we know the two diagonals bisect each other. We know it. Why? Because a rhombus is also a parallelogram. In parallelogram, the two diagonals bisect each other. That's why in case of a rhombus also, the two diagonals bisect each other. Okay, at the point of intersection. It means the diagonal AC is bisected O. That means this half is equal to this half. Similarly, this diagonal BD is bisected at the point O. It means BO, this half is equal to this half BO. Yes or no? Yes. So you can write, we know that in rhombus the two diagonals or the diagonals bisect each other Okay, it means OA is equal to OC implies OA is equal to OC and OB is equal to OD. OB is equal to OD. We know it. Okay. So now let us prove. You can write it as given. Okay. You can write it as given. And then you have to write to prove. Okay. We have to prove what? That AC diagonal is perpendicular to BD diagonal. Because they have angle 90 degree. That we have to prove. Okay. So let us prove. In order to prove, we have to take two triangles here. Since we have joined these two diagonals, that's why four triangles are formed here. Out of the four triangles, we have to take this triangle and this triangle. Which two triangles? Triangle AOB, right? And triangle AOD. Okay. So, in triangle AOB and triangle AOD, these two triangles, right? Now, in triangle AOB, AB is a side. In triangle AOD, AD also is a side. Yes or no? So, AB is a side for the triangle AOB and AD is a side for the triangle AOD. Then can we say AB is equal to AD? Can we say? Yes, we can say. Why? Because a rhombus is a quadrilateral in which all the four sides are equal. We know it. In a rhombus, all the four sides are equal. That's why AB is equal to AD. Clear? Second condition. In this triangle, OB is a side. And in this triangle, OD is a side. And now, we already know that OB is equal to OD. Why? Because BD is the diagonal which is bisected O. So, this half OB is equal to OD. Already we have given here. So, it is given. Here, ABCD is a rhombus. Clear? Third condition. For the triangle AOB, AO is a side. Or you can say OA. And for the triangle AOD, okay, in the triangle AOD, OD is also a side. Sorry, OA is also a side. In triangle AOB, OA is a side, and in triangle AOD, OA is side. So OA side is common to this triangle and this triangle. Okay, so you can write common side. So by side congruency, this triangle is congruent to this triangle. So by SSS congruency, triangle AOB is congruent to the triangle AOD. Understood? Now we have proved that these two small triangles are become congruent. Now remind the axiom number 7.2. If any two triangles are congruent, then their corresponding angles and corresponding side must be equal. Right? So in triangle AOB, this is the angle. Similarly in triangle AOD, this is also an angle. Yes or no? Yes. Since these two triangles are congruent, we have proved. So we can write that this angle must be equal to this angle because they are the corresponding angle of the congruent triangle CPCT. So implies you can write this angle means AOB angle must be equal to AOD angle. AOD angle. Understood? Why? Due to CPCT. Okay. Next, we have to prove what? AC perpendicular to BD. That means this angle is 90 degrees, this angle is 90 degrees, this angle is 90 degrees, and this angle is 90 degrees. We have to prove it. How? See, BD is a straight line. Understood? And OA is a ray which stands on it. Yes or no? Yes. So we can write BD is a straight line and OA ray stands on it. Then how many angles formed? If BD is a straight line, OA is a ray, then how many angles formed? 2 angles formed. And these 2 angles are known as linear pair angles. And we know the sum of the 2 linear pair angles is 180 degree. So simply we can write this angle plus this angle, AOB plus AOD is equal to 180 degree. Okay. Next, here we can write in the place of AOB. Can we substitute AOD? Yes, because we have proved that AOB and AOD are equal angles. They are the corresponding angles of the congruent triangle. So in the place of AOB, we can substitute AOD plus another AOD is equal to 180 degree. Implies AOD plus AOD is 2AOD is equal to 180. Now 2 moves to the right hand side. So we get AOD is equal to 180 degree by 2, that is 90 degree. Hence we find the value of the angle AOD is 90 degree. We have proved it, and already it is given AOB is equal to AOD. If AOD is 90, then what is the value of AOB? It must be 90, and AOB is equal to 90. So what we have found? We have found the angle between this diagonal and this diagonal is 90 degree here, and this diagonal and this diagonal is 90 degree also here. Hence we can write AC is perpendicular to BD diagonal. So hence AC is perpendicular to BD. Or what we can write? We can write the two diagonals are perpendicular to each other. Diagonals are perpendicular to each other. Okay, so now we have proved it. Here we have to prove that in case of a rhombus, you have to prove that the two diagonals are perpendicular to each other. Since we know that the two diagonals are bisector of each other, initially we have known. So from that data, we have to first compare these two triangles and have to prove that these two triangles are congruent by SSS congruency. And if they are congruent, then these two angles must be equal due to CPCT. But this is a straight line, this is a ray, so these two angles are linear pair angle. So sum of these two angles is 180 degree. Hence individual angle must be 90 degree and 90 degree. And finally we have proved that AC is perpendicular to BD. Okay.